Hello, and welcome to TCN's CloudCast, where we explore the latest trends and innovations in the contact center industry. Today, we're thrilled to have Jesse Bird, CTO and co-founder of TCN, here with us to celebrate TCN's 25th year in business. Let's take a look at how the company was started, what it means to be an entrepreneur, and what is in the future for TCN. Welcome to CloudCast, Jesse. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
We're excited to have you with us today. I first wanted to just say congratulations on making it to 25 years. How does it feel to reach such a big milestone?
Feels a lot like 24 years, 364 days, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you don't imagine that you'd still be here when you started 25 years ago, but here we are, and every day doesn't feel a lot different than the one before it, but when taken in aggregate, obviously we've been some places.
Yeah, definitely. 25 years, a lot happens in 25 years. I wanted to ask you really quickly, tell me exactly what is TCN and how did it come about? What inspired you to start TCN?
Yeah, so TCN is a hosted contact center software platform now. When we started, that's not what we were. When we started, we were a company that was really focused on outbound messaging and how we can deliver things like appointment reminders or delivery notifications or these sorts of things to the market. And so we started off in the outbound world, and eventually, we got pretty into things like financial services and healthcare and insurance and newspaper publications, who all you needed to contact their consumers in different ways. I mean, dental and automobile work as well. And as you gain customers and gain market share and you get requests, and some of those requests have just been, we'd like your platform to do more. So over the course of 25 years, we would invest in the business and add features, add functions, add capabilities, add products and markets, and eventually we got to the point where we had a really full-featured contact center platform. So it was always incremental. I mean, it was probably a little bit more aspirational than, visionary at the time. We'd said, well, we have an idea. We think that we can make a go of it at this, but I don't think that we really imagined all of the different things that we would be doing over time.
Yeah, TCN does a lot of different things and works with a lot of different people. But while you have such a varying amount of skills and a varying amount of resources that clients can use for different industries, it's all under one platform called Operator, correct?
Yeah, so Operator is our software. It's our flagship software. All TCN services and products and offerings are available under the Operator umbrella.
Awesome. And so Operator is kind of the culmination of all those 25 years, or, I know it came out a couple years ago, so it was really 22 years putting everything together, working with all the industries. After everything came together, it was Operator.
Yeah. I would say, you look back and everything is just sort of incremental. You will take the next step and the next step. But Operator was probably the first time that our company has been able to look at it and say, we now do all the critical functionality that a contact center needs, and we needed to figure out a way to brand it, because we were inching in. We'd done dialer, we'd done outbound work, we'd done messaging, we'd done inbound, and we'd done IVR, and we were doing email and SMS, and we had started doing some workforce optimization and workforce management. We've done a lot around compliance and data management and how you integrate with other services and products. We've done web chat, and so you take all these things in aggregate. We needed a way to make it feel one, and we needed a way to deliver it under a banner that people could pick and choose and sort of a la carte their way to a contact center that works for them. And that's kind of where Operator came from. Because previously we were branded under P3, and then we were branded under a company or under a name called TCN Broadcasting Services. And just over time, as we diversified our product mix and our service mix, we needed to figure out how we were going to bring that to market in a way that people could digest, because it was becoming too much digest ad hoc. So Operator, everything you need for your contact center, every critical contact center function under one roof and one brand.
and in-steps operator to solve all your contact center needs. I love it. So you mentioned, the incremental steps leading up to where you are now. And so I wanted to look back over the past 25 years and ask you what some of the most significant milestones TCN has reached are.
Yeah. How about still standing? That's probably number one. Here we are.
That's right.
In business, Simon Sinek says that everything is the infinite game. And so we're still playing the game. We're going to play again tomorrow and play again the next day. So we're still here and still growing and still competitive and still innovating. So I think that's probably the number one achievement. Second achievement, I look back and you think way back 25 years ago, was not popular to do voice over the internet. So nowadays people talk about SIP, and even people that aren't technical people know what SIP is. And they know that you can open your browser and make a phone call, and that's not even neat or revolutionary, but 25 years ago, it was. There was no standardized protocol for making calls over the internet, and our very first proof of concept was simple. There was a text box that you could type a phone number in and push call, and it would call you. And that felt magic at the time, and as we demoed it early on, a lot of other people felt like that was a little bit magic. And we ran on that platform for a number of years until probably 2007, 2008, when we launched what we called P3. And that was probably the first large reinvention of like what the TCN platform is. It's where we brought together agent, we brought together outbound, we brought together inbound. Eventually onto that platform we added email and SMS and brought it all together in a way that was really unified. And that matured for, the better part of a decade. And eventually that evolved into Operator. And Operator is, you bring in workforce management, workforce optimization, web chat, you unify the agent experience in the omni-channel world and add different types of dialing, like manually approved dialing. And so just over time, we've just incrementally improved. But Operator was probably the third time that we've really reinvented ourselves. And I think each one of those stages, the text box to the P1 or to the TCN broadcasting platform, to the reinvention with P3, to the reinvention with Operator, each one of those is a pretty substantial milestone. And seeing those products come out and mature is satisfying. Some other significant things, we now do business in 8 production data centers. But it wasn't always that way. Our first servers were things like an IBM server that we bought off of eBay. We installed it in essentially a closet.
Wow.
But we matured, and then we had a data center and managed our things in the data center and reinvented ourselves on the infrastructure side several times. But a pretty big step for us was when we said, okay, well, we are no longer going to manage hardware. We're going to run everything in the cloud, and now we run everything on the Google Cloud, and we run 8 data centers worldwide in production. And I don't think that we'd be able to run 8 data centers worldwide in production without, embracing fully how to manage your data centers in the cloud and that sort of DevOps environment. And that fueled international expansion. So we have a pretty significant customer base in Canada, in the UK, in Europe, in India, and in Australia. Now all of that is good. One thing that we talk about somewhat often is that we want to diversify ourselves, and not diversify and not diversity in the way that most people think about, although that's also good, diversity of viewpoints. We really think about diversity of business. So different products can power different lines of business, different geographies, different client sizes, and different industries. And as we've grown, we've really been able to be more generalized in tackling markets, even though we have a real specialization in people that need dialer. But we've taken that dialer to a lot of different verticals and taken that contact center to a lot of different verticals, especially highly regulated industries like healthcare and financial services and insurance. So I would say it's probably the primary thing over the last 25 years that sticks out.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of different achievements and a lot of different growth in many areas. So I wanted to shift a little bit to talk about The all the changes that have happened over the years within industries and markets. They've all been changing, and with so many markets that you work within, you have to handle all those changes and adapt to them. And so, what are some of the biggest technological shifts that you've witnessed being in the contact center space?
Yeah. Things change and they also stay the same. Fundamentally, people just want to take care of their customers and contact them and talk to them in a way that is satisfying to their customers and economical to business. So that stayed the same, and we've always kept our eye on how do we bring the most economically advantaged solutions, like so that you can get the most done with the least expense, but also provide world-class customer care and customer service. So that's in a way that they've all stayed the same, but the way that things change is every time there's like a revolutionary shift, things change. The first thing was, and it's not really revolutionary, it's all incremental, but the first big shift in the market was probably right when we got going, is people were beginning to realize that you can make calls over the internet. And that fundamentally changed the way that contact centers, or the options that people who did contact centers had to them. Dramatically lowered cost, and it made a lot of things that weren't previously possible, especially in the smaller markets. The second thing that probably started changing is TCN's always been in the cloud. We're a cloud first, cloud native company, but we were kind of early to that game. We were doing cloud first, cloud native, while most people were still delivering on-prem software. And nowadays people call it software as a service, and back then nobody knew what to call it. They didn't call it the cloud, they called it the internet. They called it application service provider or online business provider or any other names. Wasn't really common, but there's probably a shift about maybe 10 years ago where that started to become the preference for a lot of people, is the cloud. And that shift has dramatically improved or made available more markets to TCN. Probably the next biggest one is the one that we're living through right now, which is how the compute power has gotten so strong, so big. People are starting to do really, really interesting things with AI. So well, probably even before we get to AI, the next one was probably digital communication. So how do people interact with each other? Because everyone's walking around with an instant messenger in their pocket, whether it's SMS or WhatsApp or WeChat or any other number of, or just an email address. Like, it became expected that customers can communicate with the brands that they interact with via email or via SMS or via web portal. And it became really important, if you were to stay in business, that you made those things available. And TCN has tried to make it so that those things were easy for people to do. And probably the last one is going to be just the AI. So how is that going to impact the contact center? How is it impacting the contact center? In some ways, I would say less than you think, and in other ways, I'd think more than you'd imagine. There are going to be some use cases that I think are going to be entirely automated, and I think some use cases will probably be less automated than you think. I read a study recently that talked about how for low impact, low emotion transactions, people expect to interact with computers. So for like a return, they just want to interact with a computer and be done in as efficient a way possible. But for high emotion, high impact interactions, they still really want to talk to someone who's empathetic and who is a human. And I think those types of interactions might take a little bit longer before they're fully automated, but we're getting there. AI has made a big difference in how you can do quality control. So every call can be transcribed, every conversation can be analyzed, every interaction can be scrutinized for sentiment, for compliance, for possibly improving, whether it's a sales job or a service job or any other type of interaction. Like, you can mine that data and use AI to like get insights that you previously weren't really imaginable. Like, even asking the insight to totally summarize a conversation, or the AI to totally summarize a conversation, or to answer a scorecard. Machine modeling, which is in that same vein, allows you to do things that you weren't previously able to do just because of the computational expense, whether that's predictive reporting or workforce management and how you handle that, or whether it's managing your big data and making it available to the agent at the right time at the right place. So there's lots of things that are happening right now, and really TCN's job is to figure out how we can take these things that are big ideas and make them a product, make them available to the general public. I often use the word democratize it to the lowest common denominator of our customer.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Speaking of AI, I know that everyone's talking about AI and machine learning right now, but you mentioned a lot of the shifts that are happening currently. Is there another emerging trend that you are excited about, or that you see changing the position of TCN over the next 25 years?
25 years is sort of a long time to predict, right? So I don't know if I could certainly predict 25 years. But in the short term and in the medium term, one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on doing is we may not always be the first to release a product, but we always see it coming. And we figure out how it applies to TCN because, like the first iterations of AI were so fantastically expensive, they didn't make economic sense to create products out of. But now that they do, and we're embracing that. So I think there's going to be a lot more automation. There's going to be a lot more AI. There is going to be a lot more around how people want to take care of their data and have data governance, and that's going to be important for vendors to pay attention to. I think the next, certainly the next three years are going to be defined by how companies correctly productize AI in all aspects of what they're doing, whether that's data management, which we are doing with, how data runs through LMS and how it gets classified, whether it's workforce management, and how you create the right algorithms, whether it's in automating your interactions, whether it's creating, making your agents more effective by summarizing their calls or filling out their dispositions, or whether it's making your QA lives easier by call transcriptions or automated scoring or these sorts of things, or whether it's just using AI to help your agents answer common queries or using your AI to route calls. So that's going to probably be the next 3 to 5 years. And what comes after that, I'm not sure my crystal ball is that clear.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those insights, though. I appreciate that. One thing I wanted to touch on was the support provided to TCN customers. It's one of TCN's driving characteristics, and it's something that we hear about often. Do you feel that this has been a driver for some of TCN's growth? Is the ability to support customers from the customer implementation to execution?
Yeah. So TCN, we believe strongly about taking care of our customers. And customer service is an interesting thing. It's a competitive advantage for TCN right now, but maybe it shouldn't be. Customer service is something that everybody can do, but almost nobody does, either because they don't feel like it's really important or because they don't find that it gives value. But good customer service is not something that shows up on the balance sheet or the income statement. It's something that shows up in your reputation that grows over the course of quarters, years, and decades. And there's been a lot of technology companies that are driven primarily by the next quarter's returns, and that's never been TCN's model. We've always tried to figure out how do we grow sustainably and how do we grow in such a way that allows us to build on our growth that we've had previous, and that starts with making sure that you take care of your customers. And so we pride ourselves on always answering the phone. We pride ourselves on making sure that, and these are small things, but making sure that you the people that you talk to on a daily basis know your business, understand your problems, understand what it is that you're trying to do and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and take care of you cradle to grave. And it ends up becoming a competitive advantage because our customers trust that we will help them, and because they trust that we will help them, they trust us to do more for them. And that's always been, as you're trying to diversify your product mix, if you don't have the trust of your customers, that becomes really difficult. So I do believe it's been a driver for growth, simply because you can build a business on a reputation if you can sustain it over a long period of time. And when you don't have other ways to grow, you got to grow organically. You really, really, really need the support of your customers, and we've been grateful to experience that.
That's awesome. Thank you. I just had one last question. Thank you so much for your time today. I wanted to ask you if there was an aspiring tech leader looking for advice, what advice would you give to them, or even a younger you? What would you tell them?
So I don't know if you know, but the CEO of NVIDIA was asked this question about 2 weeks ago. And he said, don't do it. That's the advice you'd give his younger self. And maybe sometimes I think I'd give myself that same advice. It's like, don't do it. That's going to be really, really hard. But it's also been really, really rewarding. And I'm not sure that you can give yourself your younger self advice, because some of the lessons that you learn as an entrepreneur really come through the school of hard knocks. But I would say that my younger self would often cut some corners, especially in terms of software design. I'd advise myself that, sometimes those corners you cut aren't worthwhile. But maybe when you look in retrospect, maybe that was really the right decision, because at the time you're a different company in a different place, and you have to make different calculations in order to figure out how to stay in business and grow your business. So I think probably the number one thing that makes successful entrepreneurs is persistence. You got to be persistent. You got to be willing to, do the hard things. Make sure that nothing is above you. You should not ask your team to do things that you're not willing to do. I think if you're a tech entrepreneur, understanding the technology that you're working with pretty deeply is important. I've seen successful tech entrepreneurs that don't, but I think that they have a dramatically harder time doing it.
That's perfect. Thank you. Persistence is key. That's what we hear all the time, and obviously it's true.
What's the difference between persistence and obstinance?
Knowledge? I don't know.
See, at work I'm persistent, at home I'm obstinate.
Okay, I'll remember that one. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jesse, and we really appreciate you, sharing your story and your background and the advice and insights that you had into the industry. And we hope to hear from you again, and look forward to seeing what developments come from TCN in the near and far future. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.